Welcome. My name is Marty O'Shea, your Superintendent of Schools. Pleased this afternoon to provide you with another informational segment on our middle school project. We have put together segments on the financial aspects of the project, on the site selection, the campus design, and the traffic considerations relative to the new middle school project. And today, want to also provide some information on the educational aspects of the new middle school project. And so, joining me today is our curriculum director, Dr. Beth Nelson, and our director of special education, Nicole Paris-Crowe. Both of the educators beside me have experience working at the middle level. Beth was previously the principal at Williams Middle School, and Nicole was the assistant principal at Williams Middle School. So they bring considerable knowledge and understanding of the middle school experience. So pleased today to have them with me to talk to the community about the educational aspects of our middle school project. And so our intention with these segments is to raise and respond to many of the important questions that we've heard in recent months and over the last couple of years relative to the middle school project. We've been at this for a considerable amount of time. It was in the fall of 2022 that the building committee was established, and it was very early on that we began to consider the potential benefits of a combined middle school. Right now we have two middle schools, each with about 330 students, Glenbrook and Williams, and the proposed project would combine the students at the Williams site with a middle school designed for 665 students. So obviously this is a significant departure for the town of Longmeadow for as long as anyone can remember. We have had two middle schools roughly the same size, and so in a combined setting, it gives us the chance to reinvent middle school education here in Longmeadow, and that's what we're here to talk to you about today, is sort of what some of the potential benefits and concerns and considerations are relative to a combined school. So want to split this conversation into two parts. One is to talk about the middle school with 665 students, and then talk about the design and the furniture and the fixtures, equipment, and how that will enhance teaching and learning as well. So in terms of us having a middle school designed for 665 students, I'd kick us off by saying that it's actually more of a typically sized middle school for the state of Massachusetts. In fact, a few years back, I was trying to find the average middle school size in Massachusetts, and it was right around 630, 640 students. So we're coming in with a typically sized middle school for the state of Massachusetts. But with 665 students, it brings up some academic opportunities. It has some opportunities for us to better support the social emotional growth of students, perhaps some extracurricular opportunities as well. So let's start with the academic piece. In a 665 student middle school, what academic opportunities do you see this opening up, and what are some of the concerns or questions that we need to address?
Sure. Yeah. So I think from an academic standpoint, the new middle school really provides a lot of opportunity, one for balancing class sizes, but also expanded electives. So we think about career readiness and what our students need to be citizens in the world today. And some of those opportunities for creating, designing, building, to possibly explore the opportunity to look at some personal finance classes, or get back to those skills that we know students need to be successful in our world today. So does this offer us opportunities for extracurriculars? And we do believe that it is going to offer us opportunities for electives in our courses. And I just said the word extracurriculars. I think this is going to provide us opportunities to offer our students extracurricular activities outside of the school day, but still within our school building. Yeah. So over the past few years, we've been able to offer clubs like robotics and gaming and newspaper, journalism, yearbook, intramural sports, but what else are we going to be able to offer our students now that we're all together under one roof, using the creativity of our staff? We have all of these interests that our staff now have as well, that we can offer more opportunities for students get students involved, get them engaged, get them to be communicating with their peers, collaborating with their peers, working through challenges with their peers.
I'll break that apart a little bit. So you scheduled Williams Middle School, and so I think you understand what the limitations were in providing a robust elective program. So are you able to explain that a little bit about how creating an expanded elective program is actually easier in a building with 665 students than it perhaps was for you when you were scheduling 330 students or so?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So, it's important to us here in Longmeadow that we don't have overcrowded classrooms. So we want to make sure that when we are scheduling classes, we're looking at class sizes of about 20 students. But if there's only 8 students who sign up for a course, it makes other classes really off-balanced. However, when we have more students that we're pulling from, that class of 8 at one middle school may now be 16 at a middle school that's combined, and that alternatively provides other options for those other students to go during that time. So when you're working with such a small number of students, you're really limited in the number of places we can send students, what classes there are being offered at any particular time. But when we have everybody together, we're able to offer more courses during the school day, and we're able to balance those courses to make sure that students are getting the education that they need from the teachers who are talented in delivering that subject matter.
And maybe the example of an art teacher. Right now we have an art teacher at Williams and Glenbrook, and so they basically teach sort of they have a great rich general art experience for kids at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. They do an amazing job. Perhaps that those art teachers now can be, part of their schedule can be designated to an elective, and if there's enough students that sign up for it, then you've got an opportunity to create more of a more focused art elective, perhaps.
Absolutely. And I think it offers that opportunity for students to be exposed to more of the art. So we know that graphic design is a very popular career these days. With our current curriculum and our current setup, we're not able to offer opportunities for that. But will there be opportunities for us, for students who might be following an art path, to get exposure to that sooner?
And a couple other things I just want to break out in terms of your introductory comments. The academic piece of this, we talk a lot about building durable academic life skills for kids. And so the way we've set up the school creates those opportunities for kids to be involved in crafting, building, designing, researching, all of those things that maybe, years ago might have surfaced as a home ec class or a sewing class or but we want to kind of bring back those opportunities for kids to get their hands dirty a little bit and roll up their sleeves and build and design. And then the extracurricular piece of it, the sometimes not having a large enough cohort of students can inhibit an extracurricular program as well.
Absolutely.
So can you speak to that a little bit? And Nicole, feel free to jump in, and I want to bring in on the social emotional part of this in a minute. But
sure. Yeah. And I know, Nicole, we worked together as the administration at Williams Middle School several years back, so clubs were a huge part of our school. Seeing students involved in the areas that they were passionate about allowed us to see students shine in ways that you don't typically see or may not see in a traditional classroom setting. So I think that we want to make sure that we're offering opportunities for students to explore their curiosities. And when somebody comes to us with an idea, we want to be able to support them. But if it's only one person who has the idea and they don't have a club that's following, it doesn't give us the same experience of the interaction and the collaboration with peers. But when you're bringing communities together and larger groups of students, there's greater interest, there's greater communication and critical thinking and innovation, and we want to offer spaces and opportunities for students to use your hand, roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty and really explore those skills that that are invaluable to their future.
If in terms of like extracurriculars, if Marty O'Shea showed up at your door when you were principal at Williams and said, I'd like to form a debate team, and you would say, that's excellent, we'd love to support you. How many of your friends also want to do it? In a combined setting, you've got an opportunity to create larger cohorts of students who might be able to pursue those extracurriculars.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we'd also ask a student, do you have an advisor in mind? Is there somebody who you've already you've spoken to about this? So is there a teacher in this school that you really want to be spending your time with? And have you asked that teacher?
Right.
And sometimes those answers are already yes, yes, because the kids, they're so interested in doing this that they already have all their answers.
Yeah.
They just need the final approval. And so I just think this lends itself, because now there are more staff that they may have an interest in something that we're not aware of.
Finding, kids like adults, they want to find their peer groups. They want to find their tribe. And that's a lot of what happens at middle schools. They're finding out who they are and who they want to be. And when there's more students, potentially they have greater opportunity to create those peer groups, which sort of brings us to the social emotional piece of this. So Nicole, maybe I can bring you in on this. Like some would say that, well, how do you, in a large school, how do you maintain that sense of community that perhaps a small school lends itself to? That's something that we've thought about. Can we address that a little bit? How do you maintain that sense of safety and security in a larger school?
Sure, so I'm happy to talk about that. We're really thoughtful of the design of our general education classrooms, our inclusiveness of those classrooms. Although they are larger in size, there's more opportunities for that small space, to pull kids into a small space for some of that direct instruction, as opposed to pulling them out of the classroom to get that individualized instruction from a special education teacher. They never have to leave their classroom. They're still part of the community, no matter what their particular disability is or the type of instruction that they need. They have their home base. They have their space to be welcomed in and to be a full participant in.
Yeah, creating that sense of belonging.
Absolutely, we're super purposeful.
It's not necessarily tied to the number of students, but it's more how you organize the teams and organize the spaces and that kind of thing.
100%.
Yeah, and maybe our friends at LCTV can layer over the floor plan of the building, but Beth, in this school, we've tried to maintain sort of the team-based structure. Is that something we can convey to?
Sure. So it's really important. Again, I spoke a little bit earlier about class size and wanting to make sure that it's manageable so that teachers can address students' needs, every single individual student needs and the collective group's needs. So we love to see team sizes that are about 100 to 120 students, because that gives us some flexibility in how many are going to be in English class right now, how many are in mathematics class right now, social studies, science, world language. And on any given year here in Longmeadow, we could have a cohort that comes through that's a lot smaller than 100, which creates a challenge, because ultimately we know somewhere else there's a higher group of students somewhere. And when we have that higher group of students, it makes it difficult to schedule them, because in the core academics, they're in 5 different classes at any given point during the school day. But with the 2 schools together, we can still keep teams of 100 to 120 students together. So 2 6th grade teams of 100 and 120 students. They're all in one team, so they're only going to those classes from that team of teachers. However, all of the 6th grade teachers now can collaborate and plan and discuss student needs, discuss curriculum together. The students are still eating, we envision that they're still eating their lunch together, but they're in classes with that same cohort of 100 to 120 students for their core academic coursework.
So currently at Glenbrook and Williams, students are educated in the teams that you described. They're generally on a 6th grade team of 100 or to 120 students, on a 7th grade team of 100 to 120 students, et cetera. And then in the new school, our intention is to continue to have students educated as part of a team. So they'll have that sense of community will be established by creating the grade level teams of 100 to 120 students.
That's correct.
It maximizes the learning opportunities while focusing on the social emotional learning and the academic needs.
Yeah, and the building, the physical design of the building supports the team model that we're talking about.
And our inclusive co-teaching model that we really promote in this district.
So talk a little bit, that's probably a good time to talk about that. The how we see this building supporting, and maybe now we can transition to some of the design features and the layout of the building, but Nicole, how do you see this building supporting the needs of special education students, students with disabilities in Long Meadow?
So the purposefully built spaces really support the development of foundation skills such as the learning, the social emotional learning, daily living skills, even in some cases vocational and transition skills for not just special education students, but all students. So when we look at the classrooms, they lend themselves to the co-teaching model that focuses the academic and social emotional learning within the general education classroom, but also we've developed spaces that allow for resource room to be created in each of the grade level and targeted sort of community areas, which is really new and different for us in such a large space. We have specialized programs that aren't just classrooms, but have a kitchenette sort of feel to them, have some laundering spaces in there, have opportunities for students to practice those daily living skills and those independent living skills and learning skills. So we're really supporting future career readiness for students that really wouldn't take shape or take place until they're in high school. They're getting an opportunity to really practice that in middle school so that by the time they get to high school, they're going to be ready sooner to participate in some internships outside of the school setting.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting. We've been really thoughtful about the lighting and the seating, air quality. The lighting, we're really cognizant of the sensory overload that some of our students may have, or the sensory sensitivity that they may have. So we've been thoughtful about the lighting that's going to be in classrooms, whether it be softer lighting or the placement of windows or the window treatments. The flexible seating for those students that learn best when they're standing or moving around. There's definitely space for that. The air quality or the air exchange to just really promote itself to learning and keeping students really alert.
Yeah, I think we have such a better understanding nowadays of the connection between climate and environment and learning. And if we can create the right climate, the right environment in terms of lighting and air exchange, it's no doubt going to promote learning. And candidly, that's been a challenge for us at Williams and Glenbrook at the existing schools.
Absolutely.
I'd also sort of underscore, you mentioned the resource rooms. One of the things that we're challenged with at Glenbrook and Williams right now is the availability of small group spaces for instruction,
Right,
and this building will create that opportunity. And then currently at Glenbrook and Williams, we have undersized classrooms, let's say,
Correct.
which present a challenge for a couple different reasons, right? One is it's hard to do the co-teaching that you mentioned in a
Sure.
small classroom.
Yes.
And then for students who might use a wheelchair, our classrooms in the newer building would be far more accessible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If anyone has been in our science labs at Glenbrook or Williams, you understand the difficulty for any student to make their way around the classroom. And so the classrooms themselves will be bigger, and sort of by definition, that creates a more inclusive environment for kids. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think those are really powerful points to remember. Conference space, engaging parents and caregivers in a child's education. I know you were both challenged at Williams, and I know it's a challenge at Glenbrook, finding space to ensure that parents have a voice and are involved in their kids' education. So
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little
Sure.
bit? Yeah.
So with this new middle school, we have some really thoughtfully designed conference room spaces. So whether you're having an IEP meeting that it requires 3 people or 10 people to participate in, we're going to be able to accommodate that so that everyone is an equal participant and member and has an opportunity to be heard and participate in the student's learning, and especially the student,
Yeah.
because we want them to be part of these meetings, or whether it be a parent-teacher conference or just a quick, just catching up with a family or following up with a family or student or teacher, for example. Those conference room spaces are going to be ideal.
And conference room spaces with windows and appropriate lighting and technology to allow
Exactly.
remote access, right? Which
Would be
is
right, 'cause
increasingly
that's
important.
the world we live in, right?
Yeah.
We want all people to have access, equal access to participate.
Yeah. General accessibility of the proposed project versus general accessibility of Williams and Glenbrook. Can you speak to that a little bit?
So what's so wonderful about this new space is there's going to be equal access to classrooms, bathrooms, gymnasiums, therapy spaces for all students. There's going to be an elevator. There's going to be multiple floors, but where our primary location of most of our specialized programs are going to be on the first floor, with elevator access to the other floors as necessary and needed. We're going to have a gymnasium, and plus we're going to have another space as well that's going to lend itself to some physical therapy space sessions, occupational therapy, our adaptive PE space that will be able to be utilized for all students, but especially our more medically fragile or compromised, physically compromised students.
And that alternative PE space, it will be important for all students too, really.
Right.
I mean, it will provide all the related services that you described, but having that alternative space where kids can involve themselves in aerobic activity or strength training activities, I think that's going to be a significant benefit to kids as well.
Yeah. Currently, there's cramped spaces for that.
Yeah.
You know, it's finding a space in the back of the classroom, or some other creative way, and having this be a designated space for some of that is going to be really groundbreaking for us in this area. So it's really very exciting.
Yeah. Beth, let's shift it to what this potentially means for our educators. We touched on this a little bit, but buildings supporting our teachers and our staff.
So I think it allows us to be more purposeful and more efficient in our use of our staff. So currently we have some educators who travel across town between two buildings in multiple different subject areas. And certainly they're not best valued when they're driving their car through town. They're best when they're in front of students, doing what they love and what they're really talented at. So I think that this offers us a lot of opportunity for our educators for collaboration, but also to be teaching more classes, spending their time teaching students and being with students and being in front of students. So I'm really excited. I think it lends itself to, working towards the vision of our graduate. So not only do we want our students to develop all of these skills, we want our staff to be modeling these skills. And to model these skills well, they have to be in the building, and they have to be having opportunities to collaborate with their colleagues and learn from one another. And I think that might be one of the biggest opportunities for our educators here, is just that openness to learning from others that they weren't able to see on a daily basis across town.
And support one another too, right?
Yeah.
To collaborate, but also support.
And the simple example sometimes that I'll give is that right now at Glenbrook and Williams, we have one 6th grade English teacher, one 7th grade English teacher, one 8th grade English teacher, and so in a combined setting now you're doubling the number of colleagues that they have. And so our educators are great at learning from each other, supporting from each other, sharing best practice. And then for kids, they're having that common experience. We have to worry less about aligning curriculum and instruction and assessment across two buildings. Every kid's getting that same common experience as they make their way to the high school. Anything else that you want to touch on that we've missed?
I just think, I don't know that we've talked about the vision of our graduate enough today. And I think about those skills that we're trying to develop within our vision of the graduate, the accountability and communication and collaboration and problem solving and independence. And this school is going to lend itself to kids having opportunities to develop these skills, to grow these skills, to own these skills. And I'm so excited to see that all come together.
We're providing a natural, organic opportunities for students as opposed to synthetic ones. That's really impressive.
So Beth, to hit on your, I'm glad you raised the vision of the graduate, kind of recognizing that all of our learners bring different talents and different interests and different abilities. How do we see this building supporting the variety of learners that come to us each day?
Everyone learns differently.
Yeah.
So coming from a special education background, I'm really cognizant and always thoughtful about those students that may learn best by hands-on learning as opposed to sitting in a classroom and participating in a discussion or hearing a lecture. So I'm so excited about all the different opportunities that we have with our Media Center, for example, and the possibilities that there are throughout our school for those types of learners to learn and feel like they're part of a learning experience, that they can get up and pick up something and create, as opposed to sit down and have to take a test or write a paper. So I think that the focal point of this project is that we are recognizing, appreciating the different learning styles of every student that comes through Longmeadow Public Schools, and that we've built a space and a place for them to grow and learn and feel and be successful. So that couldn't be more inclusive.
Yeah. Worth noting that, and we mentioned this in one of the other segments that we did, that the total project cost includes all the furniture, fixtures, and equipment and technologies. And the new furniture, fixtures, equipment, and technologies serve the diversity of learners in so many important ways.
Absolutely.
The amplification systems that are available in classrooms, the variety of desks that allow for students who might be a little wiggly or who want to stand, the types of
Space.
seating in the media center, the configuration of the spaces, like all of those things support the variety of learners. And so I'm really glad you brought up that point. And I think that, you know, having that refreshed, the refreshed furniture, fixtures, equipment, and technology is going to be a home run for the variety of learners that we try to serve every day.
And our social emotional spaces that we created, our Zen dens,
Yeah.
just being really aware that we have students, not just special education students, but students and adults that need a space to self-regulate.
Yeah.
You know, so we have thought of the different people,
Yeah.
not even just students, community members that may participate and come through our doors.
Yeah.
We've been cognizant of where we're spacing different rooms and what the hallways are going to look like. So, and then the spaces for our guidance counselors and
Yeah.
our social workers.
The space, the building features a counseling suite,
Correct.
separate and apart from the administrative wing of the building, which is something that we learned, frankly, from both Glenbrook and Williams, that, you know, having a safe space where kids can get that social emotional support separate and apart from the administrative offices is really critical. So I think we've built a really sweet counseling suite, and that will be inviting to kids where they can get the social emotional supports that you talk about. So we hope that today's session gave residents an opportunity to learn about our educational vision and perhaps answer some of the questions that residents might have about how a combined middle school will serve the students and teachers and staff of Longmeadow Public Schools. So we appreciate your interest.